You ever see one of those huge numbers in a report and your brain just kind of short circuits? Yeah, it looks like a meaningless secret code. Well, today, we're gonna crack that code together.
Okay, look at this. What is that? Just a random string of digits, right? Could be anything. But it's not random. It actually tells a story, and you can learn to read it.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to decode its story. Seriously, by the end of this, you'll be reading this number and even bigger ones like it's second nature.
So, what's the secret? The key to unlocking all of this? It's one simple but really powerful idea: place value. All it means is that where a digit sits in a number changes everything. Its location is what gives it its true meaning.
All right, but before we dive deep, let's just make sure we're on the same page. Every single number you've ever seen is made up of just 10 little symbols, 0 through 9, and we call those, of course, digits.
Okay, so check this out. This is place value in action. See the number 333? It's the same digit 3 over and over, but they don't mean the same thing, do they? The 3 all the way on the right, that's just 3. The one in the middle, that's 30. And the one on the left, that's 300. Same symbol, totally different values, all because of where they are. That's the magic of place value.
All right, so now we've got the basic principle down, but here's where it gets interesting. It turns out there's more than one way to group these big numbers. We're going to start with what our source calls the local code. You might know it as the Indian system of enumeration.
So here's the map for the local system. It starts out familiar, right? Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. But then it introduces some unique words like lakhs and crores. Now, don't let those names intimidate you. Think of them as just labels for bigger and bigger chunks of numbers, kind of like chapters in a book.
So how do we actually use this system? Well, it all comes down to the commas. The comma rule here is a little bit different. You start from the right, and you put the first comma after 3 digits. Easy enough, but then every comma after that goes after the next 2 digits. So you get this kind of rhythm. 3, then 2, then 2 again.
Okay, remember that big mystery number from the beginning? Let's apply that 322 comma rule to it, and bam! That long jumble of digits turns into this: 98, 75, 47, 321. See that? The commas just instantly break it down into manageable chunks. It's already way easier to process, isn't it?
So, what's the story here? How do we turn those chunks into actual words? Well, if we use that place value chart we just looked at, we get 98 crores, 75 lakhs, 47,321. There it is, mystery solved.
But hold on, we're not done. There's another code we need to crack. And this is probably the one you see most often, especially in global business and news. It's the international system.
Now the roadmap for this system looks a little different. Once you get past thousands, you won't see lakhs or crores. Instead, you get the big ones you probably know: millions and then billions. And each of those groups is a nice, neat package of 3 digits. And you know what? The comma rule is even easier here. It's just a steady, predictable rhythm. You start from the right, and you pop in a comma after every 3 digits. That's it. 3, comma, 3, comma, 3, all the way down.
Let's try this out on a really huge number from our source. Look at this monster. Applying that simple every 3 digits rule, this thing becomes 204,340,432,004. So much easier to look at, right? And what does that sound like? Well, using our international map, it's 204,340,432,004. Did you catch that? The commas line up perfectly with the words billion, million, thousand. It makes reading even gigantic numbers totally logical.
Okay, so we've got 2 different systems. You can almost think of them as 2 different dialects for the language of numbers. So the big question is, how do they connect? Let's put them side by side and figure out how to translate.
And this right here is the aha moment. Look closely. It's the same number of zeros. The only difference is where the commas go. In the local system, that's 10 lakh, but in the international system, it's 1 million. And here's the most important part. They're the exact same number, just 2 different names for the same thing.
This chart, this is your translation guide, your cheat sheet. 1 million is 10 lakh. 10 million is 1 crore. And this is the big one you'll see all the time, especially in finance. 1 billion is the same as 100 crore.
This is like the Rosetta Stone for talking about numbers globally.
Yeah, let's just let that sink in for a second. 1 billion equals 100 crore. That number, 100, is the magic number to remember. It's the key that unlocks how you read reports about huge economies or populations and understand them in a global context.
Okay, so we've got the how down, we know the rules, but let's talk about the why. I mean, why does this even matter? Who cares if there are different ways to write a number? Why should you know this?
Well, it matters because we live in a global world, and context is king. Picture this. You read a headline about a project that costs 10 crore. If you don't know the system, that number's meaningless. But now you do. You know that's 10 million. Suddenly it makes sense. Knowing both systems means you can be bilingual with numbers. You can read financial reports, understand data from other countries, and just communicate without getting things mixed up. It's about getting the real story behind the numbers, no matter where they're from.
And that's it. You've done it. You've cracked both codes. Remember that crazy string of digits from the start? It's not intimidating anymore, is it? You now have the keys to unlock the story inside pretty much any big number you're ever going to see.
You know, there's actually a fancy word for what you just learned. This whole skill of reading and writing numbers, it's called enumeration. It's a great word to have in your back pocket.
So I'll leave you with this question. Every single big number out there, whether it's a nation's economy, the distance between planets, or the data flowing through the internet, is telling a story. Now that you have the tools to read them, what stories are you going to go find?